Hi everyone, we are just arriving at the beach. Ooh, and of course I'm having to go down. I'm trying not to blind you right now. We are at the Fox Island Sandspit. Here, how about we'll do some of this? Spooky. We are at the Fox Island, sorry, not the Sandspit. We're at the Fox Island Bridge and, ooh, sorry. I'm gonna flip my camera around in a second. I didn't spend much time getting myself together. But Steve and I are out here. It is freezing cold. It's about 39 degrees or so, give or take, 4 or 5.
You can't see me.
We just see Stina's light in the distance. 6 feet away is hard at night in the dark. But I'm gonna flip my camera so that you can start to see some cool stuff. And let me get my lights situated. If you want to mention where you're tuning in from, that's always interesting for us to know. We like to keep tabs on all of our viewers.
And just in case you're wondering, we're not going swimming. We are just going on a nice low tide beach walk.
Yep, and we're here. We're at the little lagoon section right now. Give it a second for us to get to the lower tidal heights here. We've got a decent negative tide today. It's about a negative 1.9 foot at about 10 till 10. So we'll just kind of explore till then. Noticing already there's some different kinds of algae on our beach here. This looks like laver. You might know it as nori. And you could, have this nice tasty stuff on your sushi. It is edible. It's delicious. It's pretty nutritious for you too. Although I don't think I would eat any that has washed up like this. We're approaching this little kind of saltwater pool here. We've got, usually there are some crabs and sand dollars here. So let's see if we can see some of those. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, sorry, my headlamp is interfering with my... Not enough? Do you want my headlamp?
I might steal
Yeah.
the headlamp. That's okay.
We'll just do a quick little light swap. All right, here we go. So we're coming up on some sand dollars here. These are great. Stina is also going live on our other social media account. She's over on TikTok right now. Oh, there's a little fish. A little tideful sculpin. I don't know if you guys can see. He's very blinded by the light there, right up in the center. Leslie, thank you for your kind words. We really do appreciate it. And there is nowhere else that Stina and I would rather be than out on the beach right now, especially because it's not raining. Normally these winter low tides are kind of a bit of a gamble because the weather. It can be really, really awful here. So I don't know if you guys can see all the Christmas lights out there. There's some really pretty lights all around us here. Oh, and man, is it cold. You guys are lucky to be home warm. And again, you can always post in the comments where you're watching from. We like to know that. If you've got a question, you can post it. But keep in mind, I'm trying not to fall and think of things to say and not squish creatures and look at my screen and keep my light pointed where I'm going all at the same time. So, I make no promises. So I'm up here in the higher tidal heights and we see lots and lots of this white shell debris. That is pretty typical. Let's see, I've got another light here. Here we go. Pretty typical of beaches where we have kind of an outcropping and that accumulates sand. So you can just see there's tons and tons of broken shells here. I'm noticing bits of cockle shell. That's that really textured one. There's some varnish clams, those kind of purpley ones. Lots of broken bits of barnacles for your alliteration. And then as we go down this very sloped section of beach, we're gonna come up on these kind of artificial rocks These are not the native rocks that are here to this area. This was brought in when the bridge was being built, but this is incredible habitat for lots and lots of animals. So the first thing that we'll probably see is these barnacles. And sure enough, they are everywhere. Ooh, there is a tiny, tiny sea slug right here. That little pink blob is a slug. And of what kind, I cannot tell you, but I can see two rhinophores up at the top. Those are the little tiny dots. And then at the back half, there is their gills. We'll probably see some nudibranchs, some other sea slugs today. If we get lucky, let's go a little farther down here. And right at this edge, right here where the big rocks kind of end and we stop, this is a great spot to find anemones. And sure enough, we've got some anemones here. This is an aggregating anemone. I'm going to show you about 1,000 more of these today. Other things, this is good crab habitat in here. Oh yeah, check it out. So there's some purple shore crabs just hanging right here. These are not plants, these are wild crabs who are just happen to be found. I don't know that my microphone will pick it up, but we've got some good kind of scuttering and their little scuttling feet. You can kind of hear up higher in the rocks there a little bit. All right, let's go down. Last time we were here, gosh, maybe about a month ago, there were so many leather stars, and I would predict that we would see those again today. Let's see. We're still kind of, I'm walking on the easy to walk portion of the beach, where the sand is a little bit harder packed. If we travel down here a little farther, it gets really, really mushy, and I don't want to walk through that mud just yet. I want to get closer to underneath the bridge so that we can see a little bit more diversity of life. Down in the mud, although there are plenty of creatures, they're all roughly mud colored and small and hard to find. So let's see. I love seeing all of you folks tune in, and this is great. Are there vinyl stars near the leather stars? No, only leather. We might see some ochre stars, I'm hopeful, and mottled sea stars, but no vinyl stars. Probably one of my favorite named sea stars is the Velcro star. Oh, you guys, there's an octopus! This is absolutely a chance find here. This is a Pacific Red Octopus. How cool is this? You can see them taking breaths. So they use their mantle, that back half of their body, and they'll pull water in and squirt it out through their siphon, and it'll travel across the gills so that they can respire. And it's also how they can do some jet propulsion. So this is an animal who can move very, very quickly backwards if need be. They have really, really good senses. So they can taste with their feet. So quite often we see them intertidally, and they're kind of going rock to rock looking for crabs or other crustaceans. Hermit crabs would be something else that this animal is going after to eat. They have very good vision, so I'm probably blinding this poor thing. But really cool find. I'm gonna let Stina know. Stina! Octopus! Can't have all the fun to ourselves here. Gotta share with the folks over on TikTok too. So cool. Here we go. Here, I'll change my light a little bit so you can get a better view. Such a cool creature. Oh, Amy can see our flashlights from where she is. Hi, Amy. Yeah, it's cold out here, but it's not raining, so I'm really excited about that. But this octopus is a great find. This is the first octopus I have found at this location. Oh, and the octopus queen herself, Susan Cowan, is watching. Hey, Susan. Thanks for tuning in. Susan is an amazing artist. We got an opportunity to do a beach walk with her and take a look at some of her art in her studio out on Day Island this summer. So cool to see that. But check it out. Stina, can you believe it?
No, it's so cute.
It's so cute. I love it.
I love watching it kind of pump water into its mantle. You can kind of see it blowing the water out of the siphon. That is so cool.
So
All right,
cool.
so can we see, does it look like it has little eyelashes?
I couldn't see, but at low tide, really,
It's kind of blobby.
it's kind of blobby.
Yeah, so if it has little eyelashes, it's a red octopus. If it doesn't, it's a juvenile giant Pacific octopus.
Which is a little crazy because they can change their texture. So I think they could just totally
Make up their
decide
eyelashes.
decide to have eyelashes or not. Oh, so crazy.
I love how I don't know. They're so picturesque with their little curled tentacles. Like, you see that in drawings and pictures, but like,
They really
they
do
really
look
do
like
that. It's so cute.
Oh yeah, they're adorable. This is one of my absolute favorite creatures to find. This is the first time I've found one at this location though.
Yeah.
Generally we see these most commonly at Sunrise Beach or Titlow Beach Park over in Tacoma.
I've seen them at Tacoma Narrows.
Yeah, Narrows it's gotta be a real low tide for them in Narrows, it seems like.
I was kind of saying, it feels like we see octopus at the beginning of a low tide series.
Yes.
It's kind of
They
like,
get wise.
okay, yeah, all these animals, like, oh yeah, all of a sudden, like, oh, it's that low tide time, like, I'm going deeper and hanging out because I don't want to get stranded. But
Like day one
day
of the
one,
negative tide.
tide.
Sorry. They just kind of get surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the animals without a brain seem to, like the sea stars, we'll see quite a number of them. Yeah,
Hey.
right there. Just right on cue, right there. There's another one over here. We're about to get into leather sea star territory for sure. But the more mobile the animals are, the more apt they are to move deeper. But after a day or two, even the slow-moving sea stars seem to have figured it out that they want to head a little deeper. Yeah. And then they kind of move back in as the tides stop being so low. We've got about 2 week between our really negative tides this time of year.
Yeah.
And in the spring and summer.
And then with these negative tides, I think we have some of the highest tides of the year happening soon.
Yeah.
So.
Stina, would you stick your hand for scale next to that little critter?
Yeah. I'm tiny.
So we're not looking at a big, huge octopus here. And my guess would be that this is a Pacific red, just based on the tidal height and the size of it. But again, it could be a juvenile giant Pacific. And this is about their maximum size. They don't get too much bigger than this. Of course, the giant Pacific octopuses do get quite large.
Yeah.
And we say octopuses instead of octopi. And that has to do with the word octopus coming from the Greek language rather than the Latin. So you may have heard of like cactus becomes cacti. Well, that's a Latin word. And to pluralize a Latin, you change an us to an I. But for an octopus, that's a Greek word. And to pluralize it, you would say either octopodes, octopodes, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Oh, it's just so cool to watch them moving.
What's nice is it's definitely in this nice little tide pool here. So while it seems like it's kind of like out of the water, it's actually in the water right now,
Yes,
which
it's
is
fully submerged.
good to see. A nice spot for this.
And you
low
can
tide
he's digging
tonight.
a little bit, or she's digging.
Yeah. This is, if we wanted to see if it's a boy or a girl, we have to find, does it have the special baby making arm?
There's a Hectocotylus.
Yeah.
I think it's the third from the right, but now that I say that, I might be wrong.
Yeah, so
I'll have to look that up later. We'll put it in the footnotes.
moving under that rock.
All right,
Well,
well,
see it kind of changing colors and texture.
love it.
Bye, octopus.
Love
That
it.
was,
It's just such a cool find.
such a treat.
I was getting excited because we were getting into the sea stars.
Yeah, for those of you just joining, we are at the Fox Island Boat Launch here in Washington.
All right, so we're getting close to the bridge now. You can see all those beautiful Christmas lights out. And this is when Stina and I have to be really careful where we're looking, where we're stepping.
Very carefully.
Because there are a number of stars here. And these are primarily leather stars, I'm noticing. Hopefully we'll come across a few other varieties. But this is a species that we really see has kind of exploded since their main predator.
Literally. They don't literally explode.
Yeah, not literally. Goodness, that would be awful. The sunflower sea star is one of the main predators of this, and they are a species that was hit very, very hard by sea star wasting disease. In fact, just 2 days ago, they were listed as critically endangered, and they're down, they've lost about 90% of their population since 2013.
Where the sunflower star was hit pretty hard, you have to see lots of these leather stars.
I mean, they're absolutely everywhere.
They have been infected by wasting disease, but for whatever reason,
Nobody's eating them and giving them wasting disease, I think, is their secret to success at this point. Without their major predator, their population's been able to really bloom and blossom, and they just have fantastic colors. So many leather stars. They are really everywhere. The other thing that we'll notice on this beach, and we're getting to that tidal height now, is an abundance of these kelp crabs. So here we've got kind of a little cluster of kelp crabs. These are an herbivore species, but they're not above a little bit of scavenging. We see these, and they don't look like they're doing much of anything, but they are alive. Generally, when you see a crab that's right side up, you can assume that it's alive. If you see one that's upside down, like there's a couple over there that I can smell before I even get close, those I know are not not alive. If we go lower, we'll see probably even more of these kelp crabs. We've got kind of a good variety in the color of them. They generally camouflage with the kelp, so they'll be either reddish or kind of brownish overall. Cool to see these guys. Oh, there's a beautiful lined chitin right behind there. Lots and lots of chitins on this beach as well. And where the kelp crabs are usually is a good spot to find kelp, right? So we've got a couple different varieties of kelp here. We've got this red, beautifully textured. This is called Turkish towel. There's another kelp crab hanging out here. We've got this green algae here. This is sea lettuce. These longer kind of succulent seaweeds are also in here as well. There's some really beautiful iridescent kelp at this location, and just a little bit deeper than we can get to tonight would be the brown algae, the true kelps, like sugar kelp or seersucker kelp. It's a good little tide pool right here for a few of our buddies to hang out in. I'm noticing a bunch of tiny little shrimp that I'm sure my camera is not going to pick up, but they are cool to see. I love all your comments. Oh, here's a nice green shrimp. This is a Sitka shrimp, a species that eats algae and then takes on the coloration of the algae. So you can tell that this one has been eating some of that green sea lettuce when they're in our fish tanks. And we feed primarily the red algae. We see red shrimp, which is kind of neat. Here's some more of those chitins. Chitins are a primitive type of snail. So we see chitins that have a body that's virtually unchanged from their ancient ancestors that were alive during the time when dinosaurs roamed the earth. So it's a very, very successful body style. So cool to see. There's so much life here, guys. I really am being very, very cautious where I'm stepping. So I'm gonna step like right there where there's no sea stars, but there are tons of things, tons and tons of things to see here. So I'll try to slow down and show you some more. Oh, here's a different species of crab. We've got a kelp crab and then a juvenile red rock crab kind of right beneath it. Ooh. Crabs being crabby, of course. So the red rocks are one of the larger species of crabs, and they have very, very, very sharp and powerful pinchers. So most of the other crabs kind of don't mess with them. And here's a juvenile one. I don't know if you guys can see that. When they're juveniles, they kind of have this mottled coloration on them, kind of splotchy. And then as they get older, they develop kind of that brick red, almost purple coloration and black tipped pinchers. Oh yeah, they're just hiding in this beautiful red algae here. All right. Lots and lots of these kelp crabs. Some of them are feeding, some of them are just kind of hanging out, waiting for the tide to come back. Oh, here's a nice big red rock crab. You can see those black tips to their pinchers. Very nice. Monica, chitons do move. They're just really slow about it. They are snails after all, so they creep along on the rocks using their kind of slippery foot. They suction cup on and move around just like snails do. They have mucus that they'll use, and they don't go very far. Most chitons are going to stay on their same rock. They're almost there, like their whole lives. They can travel a little far, but really they're gonna stay put generally. Ooh, here's a good find. Tucked up under here, under these larger rocks, that kind of the ones that you can't really turn, are sea cucumbers. These are called orange sea cucumbers for good reason, and they come in this bright orange or kind of a maroon color. If they're underwater, sometimes you'll see their feeding tentacles. Oh, look at this. Let me get a good view of this cool creature without falling in. Down in here, that big old blob is this is an anemone, and one that is really suffering with the gravity of the situation here. We're gonna see a few more anemones. And gravity is really unkind to these soft-bodied creatures. So many crabs here. I mean, just where I'm standing, I can see probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I can see 30 crabs just right here in this tiny amount of beach. So we're really dealing with a lot of them. This is prime habitat for them, and they get along a little bit. Oh, Stina, I got a nudibranch. One of my favorites. So this little white blob is a sea slug. They're a really cool species we see down in kind of the lower tidal heights. So on the negative tides is when you'll see the sea slugs, and they're like those chitons. They're moving slowly. They're scraping their food from the surface, whether it's plant life or animal life. Really depends on the species of slug. Try to step on this one. I'm not sure if you guys can see the kind of bright lights right there. There's a shrimp. Looks like maybe a coonstripe shrimp or a spot prawn. It's hard to tell, but they're well suited to life at night in the intertidal zone. They've got huge eyeballs on stalks that can capture lots and lots of light, and they just glow right in the flashlight. Ooh, we've got a little crab showdown happening here. Crabs being crabby. Oh, and a moth. So these are mature red rock crabs, and I can tell that they've been in their shells for quite a while because there are barnacles growing on them. So those little white spots on their carapace is another species of crustacean. Barnacles and crabs are related. And this is a species that is fairly territorial, and so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little tussle coming. It's not quite prime time for mating of this species. They usually kind of hold off until the spring when the days start getting longer, which we're not too far from that solstice here soon. Or equinox, I mean. No, solstice, yeah. Equinox is equal night, so that would be in the spring and fall. But yeah, we've just got lots and lots of things to see here. I'm gonna try to navigate without stepping on any of these, like, so many animals here. This is why this is one of my favorite beaches. I don't have to travel far to see really interesting things. And it's fairly accessible. Here we've got a Christmas anemone. You can see that red and green, why they get their name Christmas anemone. And this one is just sagging as they do. Ooh, I can smell a dead crab around here. So again, I'm envious of all of you at home. Oh, I see a Okra Sea Star. All right, let me see if I can get to that without hurting myself or anybody else. The barnacles are about the only safe thing to step on here. So this is a really big Okra Sea Star. Really nice sized. Pretty purple coloration. There are usually a handful of them down here. So we're just underneath the bridge here. We're starting to look at the piling. That's right up here. Told you I would show you thousands of those aggregating anemones, but first, check out the size of this chitin. That's a nice big one. Here's another. Always like to see those primitive guys. Oh, here's another Okra Star. Hold on. Turn slowly so don't make everybody dizzy. So these ones are just hanging on. So cool to see. Beautiful color. Purpley. You guys would not believe the contortions that I'm doing to bring you these shots. It's making me laugh. That's funny. Lots more crabs here. Red rock crabs and kelp crabs. Barnacles and lined chitins. All right, let's see. Let's go all the way under the bridge. And I'll show you all those anemones. So right here on the pilings, there are thousands and thousands of these aggregating anemones. And they are just the coolest because they divide by fission. So when one anemone elongates, you can kind of see this one here is getting a little bit long. When they elongate, they'll just sort of stretch. Here's one that's in the process of stretching. And what they'll do is they'll stretch and then they just tear themselves in two, and you've got two anemones, which is just wild. Not a lot of animals can do that. Got lots more chitins down in here. Some of them quite small. Here's the feeding end of a orange sea cucumber. There's a little tiny jingle shell. I don't know if you saw it move. That little white shell on the rock there. Is that a fish? I cannot see. Nope, not a fish. just a rock. I'm gonna need glasses soon, but for now I'm holding out. So cool. All right. So down here, this is a great spot for finding fish. Oh, and here are two. Let me see if I can show you. So there's one that's snake-like, kind of off to the left of my flashlight beam. And then right at the base of that rock, right underneath the glare there, is another type of fish. Looks like a sculpin of some kind. It's sitting on the bottom and it's kind of tadpole shaped. The one on the left, the eel-like one, I can confidently say is most likely a gunnel. That's the most common eel-like fish. We don't have true eels here. It's too cold in our waters, but we do have fish that have taken on the form of the eel because it's a very successful body type. You're able to kind of snake around in and among the small cobble rocks here. Yeah, it's lots and lots to see. We have seen rockfish here at this location, juveniles. Looking. Ooh, there's a dead crab that I smell. So, dead crab, upside down, stinky, usually has like black coming where their joints are, where the bacteria can enter. And that's just a normal part of life at the beach, right? Let's look up and we can see there's another large Okra Star. Even farther back there, there's a really big kind of Christmas anemone back there. Sorry, aiming the camera, aiming the flashlight. Tricky. Here's another anemone here. And then a moon glow anemone, that little kind of orangey one down in the sand. Don't worry about that sea star who's flipped upside down. As soon as the water returns, they can easily right themselves. It's really kind of remarkable. It only takes them a couple seconds to do. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna move downwind of that stinky crab. Ooh, and I don't know if you guys can hear it, but these are giant barnacles, and they are making sounds as they move within their shells. So fascinating. These are crab relatives. They are crustaceans, so they're kind of like shrimp on the inside in here. When they die, they'll leave kind of an empty one. When they're alive, they have these kind of two trap doors that you can see, and they'll open those and extend their feet is what they eat with. You guys probably can't hear it, but it sounds just like Rice Krispies. Snap, crackle, and pop kind of sounds as all of these shells are moving in and out. And then of course there's some big ones moving down here. We've got more kelp crabs. So many more kelp crabs. Oh, there's a gunnel. I don't know if it's gonna come out. You just barely see his little orange face. Let's see if I can angle it just right there. We go. Hey there, little gunnel. Gunnel's gonna have really bright coloration like this orange one, or they can be more drab like the kind of gray one that we saw earlier. Super cool find. Sometimes we'll hear them splashing underneath the rocks as they try to kind of dig their little tide pool a little bit deeper during the low tide. Got another nice healthy Okra Star here. That's awesome to see. More leather stars. Here, just kind of a good view of the leather stars when they're in the water. When the leather stars are in the water, they can when they're in the water, they're kind of fuzzy. I don't know if my camera's picking that up, but hopefully you can see the kind of fuzz. Those are the gills on their backs. When they're out of the water, they will withdraw those, and so these ones definitely have the texture of wet leather. They're really smooth on top. This one's got an interesting thing happening right here. We've got a limb regrowing, and there are two. So he's already got 4 full-size arms, and then there is one smaller one, and then a tiny one growing in too. So he'll end up, or she will end up with 6. There's no way to tell the difference between boys and girls in sea stars without cutting them open and dissecting them. So we'll just say they, I guess. Let's see. More anemones on this rock here. So many. You could just look all the way up this entire piling, just covered. It would be interesting to know sort of how many individuals are found here, or how many are clones from one which came here first, just kept growing. Oh, this is great. So the orange kind of feathery cluster that you see there, that is the feeding tentacles of the orange sea cucumber. I think their scientific name is Cucumeria miniata, which is just a cool name. And they are elongated, and they are related to the sea stars, but instead of having their symmetry kind of like a pie, you'd have to slice them like end to end in order to see their symmetry. They still have pentaradial symmetry. They still have 5 kind of identical sides, but they're stretched out like a cucumber. And they are going to be catching plankton, which I wish it would show up. There is so many little moving things. Hopefully you can see those little, it almost looks like bugs. And that's what they're eating. That's what the anemones are capturing with their stinging tentacles. It's what the barnacles are eating with their feet. It's what the cucumbers are eating. Got just so much life here in the Pacific Northwest that so many animals can be filter feeders. It's really very productive. If you compare that to, say, like a coral reef, where the water is very clear and there's not very many nutrients in it, a lot of the animals in those situations are going to be photosynthetic. So they don't necessarily have a ton of food available to them. And so they will make partnerships with algae to make food for them, because what they do have is abundant sunshine. Here's one of my favorite animals. This is a keyhole limpet. And limpets, like chitons, are primitive. They're largely unchanged from their prehistoric forms. That just means they're very successful. Oh, here's a cool animal. This is a frilled dog Winkle snail, and this is a pretty good size one. And I can tell that it's a snail and not a hermit crab because, 1, it's not moving, and 2, it's just gonna kind of be suction cupped to the rock. When we see these with crabs, they move a lot faster, and they're not able to climb like a vertical surface as easily. All right, let's see. Here's another gorgeous Okra Sea Star. I think that makes 6 or 7 that we've seen tonight. So great. Oh, and here's another sea slug. This one, you can see the little kind of brownish reddish rhinophores. Those are like the tentacles on the front part. I think that might mean this is an Anemone nudibranch. Hard to say. Super cool to see those little sluggies. One of my personal favorites. It seems like all the mollusks is what I'm into these days. The octopus is a mollusk. The sea slugs are mollusks. There's some fish activity down here. Let's see if I can get to it safely. Slippery rocks. Oh. You probably didn't see that. There was some kind of fish. I'm guessing it's a little tide pool sculpin. You can just see their little nose poking out there. There's a larger one down in here. Sculpin generally have good camouflage. Ooh, there's another one. I didn't even see him until he moved. They have banding or stripes across their body rather than lengthwise, and that's kind of to try to hide and break up their shape. So when they're sitting there in the gravel, you don't notice them. Oh, there's another one. There's a beautiful lined chiton over there. Oh, here's a few more. Lots of sculpins out tonight. It's a good spot to be. Oh yeah, there's a few more. Another indicator that we're down at the lower tidal heights is this pink encrusting algae. This is called Coraline Algae. It usually only grows subtidally, so on these few nights or few days when we get a negative tide and it's exposed, it can tolerate that, but it can't handle that daily. So you won't find this in the higher tidal heights at all. Oh my gosh, this poor leather star is just hanging on, doing his best. Oh, here's another star. This is a mottled sea star. It's got a little bit different texture and a bigger size than the leather stars. And they get the name mottled because their gills and their skeleton are often kind of different colors. And this one's got orange gills and a skeleton that's kind of bluish. So great to see. Let's see, let's find what else we can see down here. This right here is a tree that has been washed up and kind of wedged here against the bridge for a long time. You can tell because there are barnacles growing on it that are pretty mature. Let's see, let's go under. Here we've got a leather star that has 6 of those arms instead of 5. So normal is 5. This one's going for extra credit, I think. Again, you can see the texture on these gills of the leather star coming straight up through their skin. And then another kelp crab just walking along, and then the star, as it feels the presence of that crab, is going to draw those gills in to protect itself. They get really smooth when their gills are in. And you'll notice that none of these sea stars have anything encrusting growing on them. We saw on the crabs earlier that some of them had barnacles growing on them, and we would expect maybe some algae or something to grow on them. But these sea stars have a little secret weapon. It's called pedicelaria, or pedicelaria, depending on who you ask. And those are little tiny microscopic pinchers that come out and attack anything that settles on them. And that's in an effort to keep their gills unblocked. You would not do so well if encrusting algae were growing all over you, making it hard to... Ooh, there's another stinky crab over here. Or maybe it's the same one and I'm just downwind still. Let's see. I'm gonna kind of move up because there's this big old tree in my way. I'm gonna travel a little higher, see what we can see. We've got a couple of more of those orange sea cucumbers. A few more. I might go back and see if I can find that octopus again. Cucumbers are a creature that we oftentimes get asked, is that an octopus? Because they do have suction cups on them and they are the right color and shape, but they're a lot more predictable where you can find them. The octopus are more reclusive. It's total chance when we come across an octopus. All right, so I'm gonna move carefully. I apologize for the terrible filming right now. Oh, here's a couple more of these anemones. Christmas anemone, and I think a beaded anemone, named for their texture. So we've seen moonglow anemones and aggregating anemones. There are some plumose anemones on the pilings as well. Let's see. Coming up closer to where Stina is, but I'm having to walk through all of this good territory where there's tons of animals, so it's kind of slow going as we walk. Ooh, there's a bit of stink coming from that one there. Oh, but right next to it is a leafy hornmouth, which is a species of snail. Let's see if I can see if it's a snail. Oh, it's not a snail. There's a hermit in there. Well, we'll leave him there, see if he maybe comes out. The hermit crabs need to have a snail shell in order to grow and move up to the kind of next size. They molt their outer shell, and then they are dependent on finding the next biggest snail shell. I think it's an Anemone because I found one. Is it the same one? It's white with kind of bumpy texture. Lime green. Oh, that's a different one than
And then
I
it's got
was
like
seeing.
this cool fuzz, which are its gills. So nudibranch naked gills.
Oh yeah, that is a cool
This is
one.
where I see some butt poo. So kind of on the Dorid side of things.
Yeah, I would agree, but it's so like it's almost flatworm like mimicking, just with how flattened and thin it is. Cool find. We saw a different one over there that was white generally overall, but had kind of like a rusty red colored rhinophores,
Nice.
which maybe this one does too.
I'm
They're
gonna
kind of.
take a screenshot of it.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I saw some of these scuba diving today. It's almost you can't really see it in the
It's not showing well on the
but
camera.
It feels like it's almost like neon. Like
Yeah.
it's so cool.
That is really cool. I love it when Stina and I don't know what we're seeing. That's
That's
my favorite. Ooh, ooh, wait. I see another thing.
And it's underwater, so I don't
Stina,
think it's too
what
stressed.
kind is this?
What? Oh my gosh.
We found another nudie I don't know. This one's looking like an aeolid. Like a shaggy mouse.
Like an aeolus? What?
Trying to get the light, the glare not so.
It is shaggy mouse-like, but it's so
But it's
light.
not, and it's not shaggy the whole length. Like it's shaggy on the margins, but then it's got those splotches. Oh yeah, that's better.
Oh, our TikTok friends are saying we should sniff it.
Sniff it.
They might know that some sea slugs exhibit interesting smells, like the melodies or the hooded nudibranch smell like Jolly Rancher watermelon.
Look at this
I'm
tangle of
distracted by this crab
crabs.
pile.
We got a pile for sure of crabs. Hey there. So these are some very mature males. You can tell
Are
because
they mature?
they
It looks a little childish here. Like, come on, guys, get it together while you're
talk
fighting.
this out like adults. No, these are fully mature males. You can tell they have really large pinchers. And this is just great. You can see how sharp and kind of cutting their pinchers are. So there's two here, and then there's like one or two underneath here as well.
It's a whole pile.
It's a real-
Maybe they're just hugging.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Crazy, but definitely males because the pinchers are so large and they're bright red like that. I love
Yeah,
it.
that red color on this
This is like, whoa.
one. Love it.
They are really, really
Here's some more chitin action. This is a nice.
cool to see. I'm gonna go check in on our octopus, Stina.
Okay.
Assuming I can find it again.
Say hi to these seaweed.
Oh yeah. All right, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna move carefully. I don't have to watch my balance quite so much over here. We're gonna get back to our little octo rock. I think. Let's see. I think it's farther up. Try to remember where we were on the beach. I think it's this puddle here, which our puddle has drained significantly, but our octopus is still in there, laying low. Let's see if I can get another better look at this. You guys are with the contortions that I'm doing to try to bring you this is very funny. Okay, sorry. It's better over here. yeah, I would imagine our octopus is gonna stay here until the tide returns, when it's kind of safer and easier for them to come on out and move around. Let's show you, we kind of tackled the rocky section of the beach. Oh, there is something making noise out there. Can you hear that? That sounds like a sea lion. Okay, well, cool. Something's snorting out there in the water. All right, still lots of sea stars here. They get a little bit smaller out here in the open. Again, these are leather sea stars. Oh, what is that? I really want to see. I don't think you guys will be able to see anything. I can't even see the break on the water, but there's definitely something very, very loud out there. I would guess sea lion based on the sound, but really, who knows? So we're in kind of more sandy habitat here. Again, we still see these crabs, and even though they're not moving, this one is still alive. Oh, okay, that is very distracting. I apologize. There is something big out here in the water. It sounds like he's coughing up a hairball. Hilarious. Okay, well, sorry, I get real distracted by large marine mammals making sounds in the dark. Can you blame me? Alright. So you can see the habitat over here is much sandier, siltier almost, and there's not a lot of big rocks or things for animals to hide on. There's not a lot of vertical surface for them, so things tend to be more spread out, and we don't see some of the animals that we were seeing before. So yes, lots of leather stars, lots of algae. If we were to go down under the surface, we would see a large variety of life. There's all kinds of worms and different things down in here. Amphipods, copepods, isopods. Ooh, here's kind of a fat one. Super cool. I just love, like, these leather stars are so beautiful. You get different colors. And they're all just hanging out here. If we get into the water a bit, you can see some fish. This is a little tide pool sculpin. Again, you guys probably can't hear it, but there's some clams that are squirting. So during low tide, they will squirt the water out of their siphon to go down and grab fresh oxygenated water. And so we see them squirt quite a bit. I can hear them. Just sounds like squirt guns out here. See. Here's another species of star. So we've been seeing mostly the leather stars, but here's a mottled sea star. This one's got pretty orange gills with kind of a bluish greenish skeleton. There's a few more fish. there's actually quite a lot of fish. They are swimming just out of the reach of my light here. This one you can actually see moving a little bit. You can see their suction cup tube feet. And those are powered by water. So on the back of the sea star, you can see that one little spot that's slightly off center. That's called the madreporate, and that's how they filter water to bring into their bodies to power their feet. They're kind of hydrostatically powered. Love it. Got a couple shells, horse clam shell.
Did you find the octopus rock?
Yeah, he was still there. Sorry, Stina was asking me if I found the octopus again. Still there. Stina's doing a broadcast over on TikTok tonight. Oh, my word, there are so many fish right here. They're like tiny tidal sculpins, and you can just sort of see them zooming everywhere. I can't even focus on any. They're so quick. Ooh, here's another Sitka shrimp. That kind of greenish one right there. It's surrounded by lots and lots of plankton in the water here. Again, this is, even though it's kind of the middle of winter, we have the least amount of sunlight for the entire year, we still have productive habitat. So many juvenile fish and shrimp and things hanging out here. There's a tidal sculpin right there. So this area, we're getting into more cobbles. So it's less sand, more kind of fist-sized rocks. And that's the size of rocks that in a big wave can get kind of turned. And so it's less ideal habitat. A lot of the animals that we're going to be examining they're aiming for things that are roughly like head-sized or so. Oh, here's kind of an interesting thing. We've got could be somebody eviscerated, but it actually looks more like there's just algae that has died. Looks like that red algae has died, and we've got kind of that neon orange that's left. Oh, here's a cool find. This is a rose anemone. You can't really tell when their tentacles are out like this, but when they withdraw their column, the sort of the stalk part of the anemone is this beautiful red rose, kind of magenta color. All right, let's just see. I'm walking out kind of far. I think I probably should head back. You guys still having fun? I'm having fun. It's cold, but we're having a good time out here. It's not raining, and that is not something I usually get to say for our December beach walks. Here's a really big crab. This is a red rock crab, a full-grown male. He's about as big as my boot in length, to give you some scale. I can tell that it's a male because of how flat the carapace is on the top, as well as the size of the pinchers. Males in most crab species have larger pinchers. Super cool to see these big crabs. Nice. This is the size crabs that the full-grown giant Pacific octopus would be eating. So divers who are looking for those octopus oftentimes will just look for a pile of crab shells. They keep their dens, their burrows really clean. Ooh, there he goes. He's fast. They want to be. They'll move very quickly. But the octopus, they keep their burrows clean. But they kind of take the trash out, to the end of their driveway, so it'll pile up there, and divers have gotten good at figuring out where to look for that sort of thing. Howard, I have not seen any kraken today. We need ice for that, right? The Seattle hockey team needs ice to skate on. It's cold. It's not quite that cold. Here's a good little hiding ledge for an animal. Of course, I don't see anybody, but this would be a nice spot for a crab or an octopus to... Oh, there's a crab in there. There's a red rock crab tucked in there, playing it safe. Ooh, I can hear an owl. That's cool. We just heard a pair of great horned owls at our house, which was really kind of exciting for us. The kids got all excited and had to go out. All right, well, I think I'm going to head back in. If you guys have any further questions or you want me to show you another animal, you can post it in the comments. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of retrace my steps and try to get back to where we are. And If you're just tuning in, you can post in the comments where you're watching from. We love to see all the engagement, all the likes and shares and comments is great. Helps get our message out to even more people. And then if you really want to help support Harbor Wild Watch, the best way to do that is to donate to us. We are a nonprofit organization. We rely on grants and donations. And so if you want to do that, you can do that right on here on Facebook, right through the app, or you can always head over to harborwildwatch.org and there's a donate button right on the main page. And we do really appreciate all the people who donate their time and efforts, and of course dollars to our organization. It really helps us continue to bring these great programs to you, so that we can continue to inspire stewardship. Because hopefully that's what you feel compelled to do now that you've learned a little bit about these sea creatures. I always say learn, have fun, and then be inspired. Such really, really beautiful life out here. So thanks everybody for tuning in and spending your Saturday night with us. I can't wait for the time when we can do these programs in person, but until then we're pretty committed to bringing you some good footage. I think I'll wrap up our live video now and go actually take some more footage of things, do some videos for later, maybe something to put on Instagram. You should follow us on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, especially on YouTube. If we get enough subscribers, we can go live right on YouTube, which would be really great for our reach. So thanks everybody for tuning in. And as always, we say learn, have fun, and if we didn't answer your question, I will, when I get back to civilization with a good internet connection, I'll do my best to answer those questions after the fact. You can always send us a message. Those come straight to us, or you can email any one of the staff at info@harborwildwatch.org, and we'll make sure we do our best to answer your questions. So thanks everybody. Really appreciate all the good likes and comments and shares. And wait, another mottled star. It always happens. I'm always trying to do a conclusion and then I see something cool. Look at this one. This one's moving. You can see him just marching out deeper. All right, awesome. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Time to wrap it up and call it a night.